Republicans are continuing their attacks on voting rights, as you might have guessed, but this time it's happening in Michigan. Now, Michigan Republicans have filed a lawsuit to overturn 2 voting rights measures that were put in place following referendum votes in 2018 and 2022 by convincing majorities. These are things that the people wanted. And of course, Republicans are trying to undermine that and instead put in place things to prevent people from voting. So let's talk about what those measures were. From New Republic, Great Lakes state residents voted in 2018 and 2022 to approve constitutional amendments that would drastically expand voting access, guaranteeing same-day voter registration, 9 days of early voting, and absentee voting, among other rights. Both measures passed with at least 60% support, and the state legislature has since passed laws to implement the new policy. So the people wanted it. These were popular. They voted for it. They should get it. But 11 Republican officials from the Michigan legislature are suing to try to overturn what they have deemed dangerous policies, as well as to permanently prohibit future citizen-led petition initiatives from being used to affect state election laws. So the only way in which these laws are dangerous is that when more people vote, less people are voting Republican. More people are voting against the Republicans. More people are empowered, and the communities that are empowered when we protect these the important things around voting are communities that by and large are not voting Republican. This is an attack on democracy in the state. Don't let them tell you any different. Now, they're exactly what they're afraid of is people getting the right to vote, and their reasoning that they try to give, their justification, is even worse. The lawmakers' argument is based on the independent state legislator theory, remember that, from earlier this year? A right-wing theory. At its most extreme, the theory would give legislators unreviewable authority, blocking state courts, state constitutions, and governors from intervening regarding election law. The Michigan Republicans argued that the citizen-led petitions unconstitutionally impinge on the state government's ability to set election laws. That's right, the independent state legislator theory, as I mentioned, is back. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, it's probably from the previously defeated SCOTUS case after Trump tried to use it to aid his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Trump was defeated, but then there was a caveat in the ruling that allowed the independent state legislator theory to rear its very ugly head once again, like we're seeing here. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in the majority opinion that state courts do not have free reign that exceeds the ordinary bounds of judicial review, meaning state courts could interpret the ruling differently. UCLA law professor Richard Hassan warned that Roberts's words were going to create mischief by giving people an opening to seek favorable rulings from lower court judges, and that's exactly what's happening here. Now, this course of action may be because it's their only option to roll these back. Like I said, they were passed with a massive mandate. The people wanted these things. Now, the people behind the decision to bring this case definitely did their court shopping, though. This case was brought in the United States District Court for the Western District of Michigan, which has 4 Republican appointed justices and 1 from Democrats. So the odds are in their favor in that regard. So why is this their only vehicle to overturn the voter initiatives? So referenda in Michigan, once passed, can't be ignored and are especially difficult to repeal. This is from the Michigan Constitution. No law initiated or adopted by the people shall be subject to the veto power of the governor, and no law adopted by the people at the polls under the initiative provisions of this section shall be amended or repealed except by a vote of the electors, unless otherwise provided in the initiative measure or by 3/4 of the members elected to and serving in each house of the legislature. It could not be any clearer, but Senator Turner, they are desperate to oppress people from voting. They are desperate to stop people from exercising their constitutional right to vote and have authority over what's happening in their lives.
No, that's right, Ray. And they are, absolute. This is another example in the chapter of absolute power corrupts absolutely. They are unpatriotic. So let's just go on and put that out there too. For the Republican Party always throwing that word around, who's a patriot and who's not. This is unpatriotic as hell. And to think, they think themselves higher than the people. Because as you laid out the facts, the data, that the majority of voters in Michigan wanted to expand access to the ballot box, which is indeed a beautiful thing, unless you have to cheat to win. Unless you do not want a broader swath of people to have to exercise or to show their opinion through the ballot box. If you can't win, you cheat. And Republicans are very good at that. But just going at them on the arguments that they use about Democrats, unpatriotic, this is them. They're being unpatriotic right now, and they want more government. What happened to all that less government stuff? What happened to giving the power back to the people stuff? Oh, that's only when you're railing against Democrats. But ultimately, Ray, for me, this is really not about Democrat and Republican, other than the point that it's Republicans propagating that. That's very clear. It's not Democrats. But for me, the heart of the matter is what it does to the voters of Michigan, whether they swing Republican or Democrat or Libertarian, Green Party, no party, country, rock and roll, R&B, however they rolling. This infringes on their right to have their voices heard, and the whole notion of one man, one woman, or one person, one vote. The people have spoken. That's why you got power referendum. It is a very powerful thing. It is an excellent tool, but that is why Republicans, even in my home state, try to mess around with it. But they think themselves greater than the people who put them in office. And that in and of itself is a damn shame.
These individual liberties and individual freedom Republicans sure do hate when people exercise their individual freedoms.
That's it.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.